I'm Rhett and I make nature documentaries. When you're making a film, you have to go through your footage every day just to see what you got, to note it down, and to keep track of which shots you have and which shots you still need. That's what we're doing right now. This is an American alligator who I've nicknamed Mr. Defense because he sits in this pond, Pond 1, and is constantly repelling any other alligators that come into the area. This is another gator that he's feeling a little defensive from. And with good reason, because here he comes. This approach footage is okay, but I might stabilize it a little because my camera movements are a little shaky. There goes Mr. Defense. Posturing, show him. This is extremely aggressive behavior from alligators. They're pretty subtle animals most of the time, so positioning like this, putting his back up, pointing himself at the other alligator and tracking it at this speed, which looks slow and smooth, but that's only because they are graceful and measured, is a strong message. This shot's okay. I was trying to get them, you can see I zoomed out. I was trying to get a 2-shot as close as I could, and I didn't exactly succeed. The focus was a little soft on Mr. Defense, and he went out of the frame pretty quickly. Here's a good shot of Mr. Defense moving right to left through the frame. Here's the other alligator who I'm going to call Best Friend. He's a little blurry in this shot. The only reason I kept it is because he blinked. I'm not sure if Best Friend over in the top right corner of this shot is trying to communicate with that head motion or if he's actually foraging for food, which would also be interesting. Going back and forth filming each one at different camera settings and zoom levels. Finally, we start getting some motion. Alligators have this reputation as being cumbersome and jerky and explosive, and while they can sometimes be explosive in their movements, it's only because the rest of the time they're extremely still, placid, and graceful. He's gotten into a safe position and distance, and now he's going to do a display. This shot's pretty imperfect, like for example it's out of focus, but I kept it in because it's a good example of the behavior. And there it comes into focus. Here's how I knew for sure the other gator was a male. It starts rain dancing right back at him. And then once again they sit still for a long time. Here comes Mr. Defense again. It's convenient that this is all happening next to a popular trail, but also the pitfall is there's constantly human talking in the background. Mr. Defense is basically a perfect nature documentary film subject. He's always in the same place, this pond, and he's extremely defensive of it, so he's always doing some kind of interesting behavior. Why he wants this pond so much, I'm not really sure, actually. Someone else told me that they saw him with a couple females in there the other day, but I really haven't seen anything but this other male competing with him for the pond, and as far as food goes, it seems like there's food all through this pond system. Over in Pond 2, there are a lot more alligators and a lot of alligator activity as well. I stabilized this shot, which you could see from the boom that just happened when it began. This alligator kind of chased the other one around the pond, and then something else happened that was interesting. I call this the day of two missed golden opportunities, because, as you'll find out, I just barely missed two golden opportunities. Even behaviors which aren't strictly exciting, like an alligator sitting on the side of the pond doing nothing or sitting still in the pond, can become extremely important when you're trying to construct a sequence later. Back to the chase. This is the start of The One That Got Away Part 1 of this episode. They swim around a bit in Pond 2, and then the chased alligator starts to move up behind these weeds towards the entrance to Pond 2 into the creek that goes to Pond 3. They sat there for some time, and some more time, and some more time, and then a third alligator came. Dun 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 dun. Boop. I don't know the sex of these alligators, and I am not an expert in alligator behavior. I'll have to consult someone later in the film process about that. But this looks a bit like courtship behavior to me. They like to nuzzle each other a lot. And here's why I missed the shot. They also sped up, went behind the plants, and boom! Interference. I got a good bit of aftermath coverage, lots of different angles, lots of different alligators swimming around and sitting around. You can see that even though they just had an altercation, all of these gators really don't want to bother each other all that much. They're sitting just a few feet apart, not moving. Here's someone moving up the creek, some footage of the creek, another headshot on the creek, and then here's the next missed opportunity. While all of that was happening, a third alligator entered the pond with Mr. Defense and best friend. I didn't know about it until I heard a commotion and I rushed over with my camera, but by the time I had made adjustments, Oh, I couldn't quite get it in focus in time. I couldn't quite get the setup. They together, probably not in deliberate cooperation, but still at the same time, chase the new third alligator out of the pond. The moral of that story is that it really benefits you when you have something that's working to stick with it instead of switching, even though the other pond had a lot of interesting behaviors and a lot of interesting action going on. If I had just focused on pond one, I would have gotten a great cohesive storyline for the day. The third gator moved back to pond two and just sat around for the rest of the time I was there. Here's Mr. Defense and best friend.